Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome. If you've never been here before, never watched any of my videos, have no idea what I do here on my channel, I cover true crime cases, and all the cases that I cover are a little bit older. They're all basically 20 years or older, so if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe go down below, click that subscribe button, and also make sure to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. So it's been a little while since I've done a video here on my channel, and that's pretty much just because I've been moving. I've been trying to get everything relocated to a new area, but I am back now and I have a little more of a setup and a little less hair. But this video is not about me, so let's get right into it. Today I have a quite awaited video for you all. There has recently been a huge update in a case that I covered about 2 years ago here on my channel, and that is the 93-year-old, at the time it was 91-year-old disappearance of Mary Agnes Maroney. And it has officially, it's been solved. It is rare that we get updates like this in cases that occurred this long ago, but just like I say on the regular, especially with the advancements in technology, there's always hope. Now, I was reached out to by one of the nieces of Mary. Her name is Michelle. She is very sweet. Thank you, Michelle, for talking to me. And that was not long after I published my original video. And she told me that they were close to solving it. But of course, even if a case is very close to being solved, it can still take some time. And sometimes it may never officially be solved, but she kept me updated. And when the news was finally released to the public, I was in awe, and I was getting right to making this video. But of course, with the move, it's taken a little while. If you did not see my original video on the case or are not familiar with this case at all, I will link that video down below for you all to watch. So watch that one and then come back to this one, because there's a lot in that video that I'm not going to be going over again in this video. But if you are familiar with the case or saw my original video, I'm just going to be giving you all a little mental refresher, and then we'll get into how the case was solved. Mary Agnes Maroney was born to parents Catherine and Michael Maroney on May 10th of 1928 in Chicago, Illinois. She was the firstborn to the couple right before the hit of the Great Depression. Through the Great Depression, the Maroney family was in a similar financial state as most of the country. Michael brought home roughly $15 a week handing out handbills, and Catherine was a stay-at-home mom who had her hands full in 1930, having 2 children and being pregnant with her 3rd. At the time, in 1930, Catherine needed some help, and a relative wrote to a welfare agency explaining the family situation. The ad asking for help was printed, and in it was the family's address, which was 5200 Wentworth Avenue. A woman showed up to the family home on May 14th of 1930, only 4 days after Agnes's 2nd birthday. The woman claimed that her name was Julia Otis. She looked about 22 years old, and she was described as being well-dressed. She brought the family gifts and groceries. Catherine explained her hardships to the woman, and the woman proceeded to act sympathetic, like she was really there to help. While there though, and this is a weird little part of the story, she mentioned bringing little Agnes to California with her, spoiling the little girl and giving her mother some more free time. This did make Catherine a bit uncomfortable. Julia would give $2 to Catherine before leaving, and then she'd be back the very next day. The next day, she brought even more gifts. She really acted like she was there to make a huge change in the family's lives. She said she could even help Michael find a better paying job, which sounded incredible to Catherine. Catherine at the time, she was a 17-year-old mother, and she was mentally and physically exhausted. On this day, May 15th of 1930, this woman asked if she could take Mary Agnes to go shopping, get her some new clothes. Mary Agnes, she did not want to go with this stranger. She was crying and calling out to her mother, but Catherine knew an opportunity like this for one of her children to just go and get free clothing to not come around all the time. It had never just happened before. So she let the woman take Mary Agnes for the day. But as hours ticked by, the family grew more and more worried that something had happened. The very next day, the family received a letter from the woman that read, "Please don't be alarmed. I have taken your little girl to California with me. I have hired a special nurse to care for her. We'll be back in 2 months. By that time, you will be on your feet again and will be able to care for her. She didn't even cry a bit. She is outfitted like a princess. In the meantime, I'll help all I can to get you on your feet. Don't worry about her or anything else. When you get this letter, we'll be on our way already. as ever, Julia Otis. The family notified the authorities and searched to find the missing girl. 2 weeks later, they received another letter. This one was said to be written by a woman named Alice Henderson, and this woman claimed that she was Julia's cousin, and that Julia, she was just heartbroken. She was a heartbroken woman whose husband and child died a year before. That Mary Agnes would be returned to the family soon. The woman, though, never returned the child. The family searched for years for the missing girl. The family would grow to 8 children, including Mary Agnes, all hearing the story of their sister and wondering what happened to her, where she was, and not knowing that absolutely destroyed Catherine. The Chicago Daily News wrote that Mary Agnes's kidnapping had eaten into her like a cancer. Since Mary Agnes's disappearance, many of her family members have since passed on, but still people down the line would continue the search. It wouldn't be until over 9 decades later that everything finally aligned. My information in this video comes from the main Chicago Sun-Times article released regarding the solving and information given to me firsthand. Mary Agnes's nephew, Donald Maroney, became very devoted to finding out what happened to his aunt since he was back in high school. He combed through pictures and newspaper articles and police files regarding the case. He wanted to solve this family mystery more than anything. Not only family mystery, but one of the longest running mysteries in Chicago. One of the most highly publicized cases to ever come from that area. Through the years, there had been many women that were suspected as possibly being Mary Agnes, some even becoming very close to the family, but they were all eventually ruled out because of DNA testing. Now, Cook County Sheriff's Detective Jose Rodriguez was put on the case on June 10th of just last year to investigate Mary Agnes's disappearance as a part of Sheriff Tom Dart's Missing Persons Project. Commander Jason Moran says that the project focuses on missing people who have been missing for more than 3 years and are listed in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs. Sheriff Tom Dart's office has done a lot of great work for cold cases, most notably identifying some of the victims of John Wayne Gacy. So they had their hopes high for this one. Many members of Mary Agnes's family had their DNA on sites like Ancestry and 23andMe. Detective Rodriguez located a second or third cousin, he wasn't sure at the time, of some of the Maronis. This woman's name is Lori Hart. She then put him in contact with her aunt, a woman named Terry Arnold, who was then asked to give her DNA to be tested against the Maroney family, and she agreed. There was, of course, a lengthy process when it came to DNA testing, but DNA was ultimately able to show a cousin relation between Dawn, any other of Mary Agnes's siblings' children, and Terry Arnold. So they were all cousins, which means that Terry Arnold is believed to be the direct daughter of Mary Agnes. This is what law enforcement, the Maroney family, Terry, and anyone else involved believes wholeheartedly based on the DNA. But I do have to say that the remains of Mary Agnes Maroney and the remains of Catherine Maroney have not been exhumed to do direct maternal DNA testing. Because of that, Mary Agnes's case does not fit the official criteria for removal from NamUs, which lists Mary Agnes's case as the oldest from Illinois in an online database. I'm sure, though, you are all very curious as to what happened to Mary Agnes after she was taken from her family. Mary Agnes would go on to live her life under her new name, which was Jeanette Burchard. She was raised by a woman named Jeanette Salaric Darris Anderson, yes, the same first name that Mary Agnes would be given, and a stepfather, Frank Darris, and her family was told that her birthday was April 14th of 1928. Exactly how Mary Agnes entered this family and became Jeanette is unknown, but it is said that Frank once told her that the woman who raised her was not her natural birth mother, so she knew that she had come from elsewhere. Her family stated that from what they knew, it was said that her birth father died about 2 years after she was born, and she had spent the first 6 years of her life in Chicago. It is believed, due to records, that the woman who raised Mary Agnes had been married to a man named John Fahey before she went on to marry Frank Darris. That the couple lived with Mary Agnes in Chicago for some time, Then they got divorced, and the woman that Mary Agnes knew as her mother married Frank Darras and moved the family to Virginia around 1934. So that would have made Mary Agnes 6 years old at the time, meaning that she was still in the area of Chicago for 4 years after she had been taken. Mary Agnes, who was then known as Jeanette, she grew up in a very Catholic family that did care for her. They made sure that she had everything she needed. She never went hungry, and she was never abused. This is something that her daughter strongly highlights. Mary Agnes, later in her life, she went on to marry a man named Edward Jennings, who she had Terry with, and 2 of Terry's siblings as well, which were Barbara Joan Jennings, who passed away in 2006, and Edward Clifton Jennings Jr., who passed away in 2004. Then she later married a man named Earl Burchard. Mary Agnes, who worked as a nurse most her life, would pass away under the name of Jeanette Burchard in 2003 at the age of 75. One thing is that she had actually visited Chicago quite a few times through the years, and while there, she had asked some of her cousins about where she had originally come from, but either they did not know or she was never told the truth. Terry stated that her mother loved her children dearly, that she loved the opera, that she always rooted for the Miami Dolphins. She also adored animals, and she was even buried with the cremated remains of all of her pets that she had through the years. Terry told the Chicago Sun-Times that when she found out the truth, that it was anger that set in, and it was mostly anger for her grandmother. It was also interesting to her to find out that she was Irish and not Polish like she thought for so long. Terry and the Maroney family have spoken back and forth a lot, and Terry has even sent them over a lot of photos of Mary Agnes as she grew up. She said that if her mother was still alive, that she knows she would have loved to speak to her biological family members, and that it would have probably made her very happy to know that she came from a very large family. Like I said, I spoke with Mary Agnes's niece, Michelle, and I asked her if anyone in the Maroney family wanted to say anything, and this quote is from her and Mary's other niece, Erin, who are the daughters of Mary Agnes's youngest brother, Harold Maroney. They say, "To say we are thrilled that the Maroney family has answers to a 90-plus-year-old mystery would be an understatement. We feel extremely fortunate and honored to have been a part of bringing this case to a close. Thankful to the Cook County Sheriff's Department, and specifically Detective Rodriguez, for his diligence in the solving of this case. We look forward to developing future relationships with our newfound family members." So yes, obviously this is a bittersweet conclusion to a very long-running cold case, but in the hearts of everyone involved, it has been solved, and that's what matters. When it comes to cases that I've covered here on my channel, this is one of the oldest cases that has been solved, and that is just absolutely incredible. And my heart goes out to all of the family members that had any connection to this case at all. And I do want to thank Michelle again for talking to me. Leave any of your thoughts about this case down below in the comments. I'm sure so many of you are going to be just so surprised that this case has been solved. But overall, leave some love down in the comments for the family members of Mary Agnes. And with all of that being said, I will see you all in the next video.